Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. I know it's been a while, but I thought I'd do a deck profile. I've just got back into the game and I'm giving you a budget deck profile of one of my favourite decks. Came out back when I was playing this game loads, and I think it's still pretty applicable today. It's pretty much an arsehole deck, but it's good to play, and it's really cheap. So, let's get into the deck. So, if you're watching this, you're probably relatively familiar with Yosenju. So we'll start off with 3 Kama 1, 3 Kama 2, and 3 Kama 3. Now, you guys know what this deck does. Basically, each Yosenju, when you summon it, can then summon out one of your other Yosenjus on normal summon, which means that it gets around a lot of things like if it was legal vanities or things like lose one turn. And then they each have different effects. So Kama 2 can attack direct for half its points, which can be useful if you can't get over your opponent's monster. Kama 1 can bounce one of your opponent's monsters as long as another Kama is on the field. And Kama 3 will let you search if another Kama does damage, which is excellent, and just lets you power through the deck. And then I play 2 Yosenju Sujik, which lets you sort of boost one of your Yosenjus up to a higher attack, and obviously it can be summoned out by one of their effects, and it returns to your hand at the end of the turn, just like all of them. They're a bit like the old school spirit monsters. They're really cool because they can so quickly summon out each other one, then they can do a lot of damage to your opponent in one turn and nearly OTK. There are some ways you can OTK with them, but it can be difficult. The main drawback of the deck is obviously that they leave you open to attack, so you'll usually have nothing left on your field, and to that you need some kind of interruption or some way to get over your opponent's big monsters, apart from Kama 1, who will let you bounce them, which is pretty good. So, let's move on to... So, next we run the Kaijus. I think any sort of lower tier deck needs to run these days. I run 4 Kaijus. It doesn't really matter which 4 you want to run, to be honest, because they're all pretty much the same for the purposes of this deck. Obviously they let you get over anything big that your opponent may have that's in your way. Also with Kama 1's effect, you can then bounce them back to your own hand after getting rid of your opponent's monster, which is always pretty cool. And useful, so you can basically use them as removal and then reuse them next time. So that's 4 of those. And then we come into our interruption, so running some hand traps. I know I said this is a budget build, and I'm only running 3 hand traps. Ghost Ogre, not very cheap, but great for interrupting cards that stay on the field, getting them destroyed. Maxi, always good card. If you can run it, then run it. If you don't have one of these, I suggest picking it up because it's just a great card. And should be run. It's so good. It lets you interrupt your opponent's plays. And then Effect Veiler, really cheap and good. Does what it says on the tin, really. Can stop one of your opponent's monster effects. It's a great card, and I think it's worth running. And the hand traps can be pretty good in this deck. So that was the monsters. So let's move on to the spell cards. We play 3 Pot of Duality, which is perfect for this deck because, as I said, they all normal summon, which means that basically there's no drawback of this card, and it lets you, well, choose one of 3 cards, which is brilliant. There's no reason not to run this. Again, this is a cheap card. It's excellent. It's really easily available, and just run this, trust me. And then 3 Fire Formation Tanky. It's the searcher for this. For Beast Warriors, they're all the Yosenjus are Beast Warriors, and really you want to get to them as quickly as possible, so you need to run this. The issue with it is that it is continuous, which is obviously a problem, and results in, well, it can be destroyed by Ghost Ogre, basically, but that's fine. We'll get over it. Then we get to our 1 Pot of Desires. This is cheap now, it's a promo. I only think it's worth running 1 though, because you don't want to get rid of all your Kamas, you want to be able to use them. Still a great card, it's effectively a plus as long as you don't care what you banish. And as long as you don't absolutely screw yourself over, which I have done before, and just banish all of your Yosenjus, then you should be absolutely fine using this. And then run 1 D Fisher. This is just a great card, and as this is sort of a lower tier deck, just interrupting your opponent is what is the best thing you can do. And because Yosenjus don't really, once the things are in the graveyard, they're gone anyway. Banishing stuff doesn't really affect them, so it can just be really good at interrupting your opponent. 1 Kaiju Slumber. It's only out 1 now. If you're running Kaijus, run this. It's basically a dark hole. 1 Raigeki, again, great card, destroys all your opponent's monsters, and yeah, that's what you want to do. 1 My Body is a Shield. I like to run this just to, if someone's trying to fuck over one of my Yosenjus, I can use this to keep them alive, which can be really key when you need more than one on the field to do things like search. 1 Creature Swap. Again, great card, even better than normal in Yosenju because it allows you to it allows you to swap a monster, and then at the end of the turn, your Yosenju will go back to your hand, and you'll just get one of your opponent's monsters. So it's a great tech in this deck, and it's really good. Basically, it allows you to take one of your opponent's monsters. I've won a few times off this. And then 1 Dark Hole. You'll know what Dark Hole does. It's great for Yosenju because your cards return to your hand, so you should have no field anyway. So it's basically an extra Raigeki. Then let's move on to our spell and traps. 3 Anti-Spell. Again. Move on to our traps. So 3 Anti-Spell, again, just a great card for interrupting opponents' decks. If you can get this early on, you can really screw people over, and usually you can get through your cards anyway. So it should be good, and it basically stops your opponent. Torrential, same reason, your cards move back to your hand, so why not have a Torrential? You can basically just use it to destroy your opponents. And then I run 3 Mirror Force. These may be other types of Mirror Force if this wasn't a budget build, but the good old Mirror Force is still good, still can really interrupt people's plays, and people don't really expect it, so it's great to have this in the deck, and it's really good for getting rid of problem cards and just your opponent's field. 1 Solemn Warning, because it's warning. I think it kind of goes without saying how good this card is. And then 1 Macrocosmos, same reason as D Fisher, get rid of your opponent's cards. Well, yeah, banish them when it doesn't really affect you at all. So that's 40 cards in the main deck. I will show you guys the extra, but to be honest, you never use the extra in your Yosenju, so it doesn't really matter. But I run 1 Harpy's Pet Phantasmal Dragon. It's 3 monsters, which is kind of annoying, but it can attack over your opponent's monsters, so if you've got them down pretty low, this can be great to just finish them, and also it's immune to pretty much everything. So it'd be really useful to have on the field. The only thing is nowadays your opponent can kaiju it. 1 Tiger King, it's a Beast Warrior deck. That's about it to say really about him. 1 Abyss Dweller, graveyard again. 2 Castell, bounce opponent's cards. Cowboy is the one that you do actually use because you can nearly OTK with this deck, and then you can use Cowboy to finally finish your opponent off. 1 Dark Rebellion, Silent Honor Arc, Ken Gorgon, Diamond Direwolf, Ouroboros, Ragnar Zero, Decode Talker because it's links now, Amaterasu, and Lightning Story. Lightning Story is a great card for wind decks. Bit of interruption to your opponent, but as I said, really never go into your extra with this deck. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching that. This is my first deck profile in a long time. I wanted to get one up on the channel, and I'm glad I have done now. I'll try and do some more in the future. I'm building another deck at the moment. I don't know when it'll be finished, but hopefully sometime soon. And then when we get out of a less stale meta, I'll do some more meta decks. So thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe.